Hey, welcome back. I'm LuminousRah, and today we are going to get into some deep discussions. But before we do, let's go ahead and clear the energies in the air and light some incense. One of the most frustrating aspects of this healing journey for me has been letting people go. You have to let the people go. Oftentimes, it's a little bit easier in theory for us to let a man go or a job go and find something else. But when it comes to friends, letting the friends go, the friendship breakup, I don't know why, but that stuff right there, it hits you so hard. It hits you right in your center. Even when you know that the friends are shiesty, your romantic relationships and your friendships often mirror each other. Whatever you tolerate and you take in your friendships, typically you tolerate and take in relationship as well. If it's not the same exact thing, it's a similar energy. And oftentimes, a lot of us don't want to admit, because it's so embarrassing, especially since people are bringing it up now, that our partners can be our enemies. But let's start with the frenemies first. Let's go ahead and dive into that, okay? Because you can have a friend that cuddles you so close, but they're getting close so that they can cut you deeper. Now that we cleared the air, we got some Palo Santos burning, we're gonna go ahead and dive into this story time today, okay? It's about a friend that hugs you with one arm, but is hiding a knife in the other one, and how that pressure pushed me into a karmic loop straight into my divine femininity. Let's talk frenemies and the art of seeing their mask before they try to grab your crown. I hate to admit, I am no stranger to shady friends, even male shady friends. Just shady people in general. And it could stem from maybe the relationship that I've had with my mother or the relationship that I've had with my father. Or I'm starting to wonder whether the things that I played down the most, like my authenticity or just showing up as myself and accepting myself for who I am and how I show up, whether that is an aspect that triggers a lot of people. And I think that I've been blind this entire time of not realizing how many people are not self-aware, because I want the best for people at all times, but also how a lot of people aren't authentic to themselves no matter how they present. Like, that false mask sometimes is really believable. But it wasn't until I reached my healing era that I started to realize just how many people around me were wearing a false mask and secretly envious or jealous of me simply living in my existence unashamed and unproblematic, just completely focused on self and trying to heal self, trying to do better, show up better, and feel better. This all happened during my hyper awareness season. I was meditating daily, praying, hyper focused on cultivating my inner power and learning how to work with my gifts. This was a time when I clinged to the divine like a clutch, okay? I was not playing. I had an old childhood friend circle back. On the surface, she seemed sweet, giving, nurturing, generous, always looking to help. But underneath, there was a diabolical, chronic jealousy. And it often showed up in situations where she had the opportunity to shine as the biggest pick-me-sha. She would often cozy up close to any of my boyfriends that I had, especially if they were my ex-boyfriends, to the point that I've had some reach out to me just to let me know and send me screenshots of everything she's doing and saying, and to point out that she is not a real friend. They were giving me agonizing warnings. It's so interesting when a guy warns you that somebody is not your friend, because typically men mind their business. They stay out of women's business. But these particular exes, they will often come back and tell me like, yo, I think she's trying to push up on me. Like, at first I thought that she was just being nice and, you know, she was mentioning you and bringing you up, but I'm starting to get the weird feeling that she's actually trying to see whether I'm going or not. Imagine a man telling you something like that, an ex from years telling you something like that. Like, that's kind of embarrassing, low key, especially with the amount of concern that they would have, because it would be a situation where I was starting to feel that they felt that I wasn't heeding their advice. I hear you. I heard you, sweetie. I know. I just got my own things to work through in order to break this off, okay? Trust me. I know you're not making this up. I understand exactly what you're saying, because oftentimes girls will attack the person that's trying to warn them and tell them, okay, no, that's my friend. She would never do that, blah, 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 but not me. I understood who and what I was working with. Oftentimes, I would have to set a boundary and she would either play victim, dismiss, deflect, gaslight, or try to minimize what was an issue and act oblivious to what she was doing. Now, here's the thing about me. If I notice that you're trying to attack me or hit me or throw bricks and hide your hands, I don't feel the punch. You're just punching air at that point. But after some time, if people do it enough, it starts to become an irritant, like a little fly, just flying, a whole bunch of flies just flying all in your face, right? And eventually you're going to have to put a lid on it. So every time I would check her, it will always be, oh, why do you feel like that, G? What's going on? Oh, I would never do that. No, I was just doing it, just coming up with these lies and trying to gaslight me. It's crazy to see online how many women are attacking men for gaslighting and manipulating and lying and doing all of this stuff. I've either experienced personally or watched from afar, third-party perspective of how women will do the same exact thing, which is challenging because a lot of times healers show up as like a people pleaser. We often want to help people. We see people. We don't want to make people feel away. So we try to address the situation in a roundabout type of way, especially if you're a strong persona like me. I'm very strong. My energy is very strong. So sometimes no matter what I say or how I try to pose, whatever I'm going to say, especially is in truth, it's going to be taken as an attack. Okay, even though that's not my intention, even though I'm doing all of this work to try not to offend, it still comes across that way. And honestly, I'm just embracing that more because it is what it is. I'm not going to be able to minimize myself, change my colors and my shapes in order to be digestible for others. It's just not going to work anymore. So if these people aren't able to take me the way I am, even though I'm still being compassionate and I'm still being aware, then they're just not meant to be in my presence. And I think that we need to start doing a lot more of that because that is also your protection. Showing up as you are, especially when you're not being nasty, especially when it's not sneak dissing or some type of negative nuance going on. If you are just you, then it's best to be you. There's no more wearing a false mask or being digestible or trying to present as neurotypical. You just need to be yourself so that you can find your people. And how many times have people told you that and you still don't listen? It's time to go ahead and do that because a lot of times when we're talking about people that mistreat us and mishandle us is because we're making ourselves digestible for those people to even be able to tolerate our waters. And I think that we need to go ahead and turn the tides up. Okay. Now this chick didn't arrive as a friend. She arrived as a fan. And it's so crazy to say that. Even me saying that now, I'm working through this paradigm that I have of not being too much. But like I said, we're showing up as is, right? So I'm just going to have to say it as it is. She was giving fan energy and not the fans that love you. Okay. She was giving the fan that hates your guts. But the only way they can get your attention is by praising you and showering you with gifts and showering you with all of this positive energy and trying to stroke your ego. That type of fan. She was obsessed with proximity, but not reciprocity. People like that try to extract shine without having a character to truly hold it. They try to study your cadence to copy it and still resent the fact that you naturally hold it. But to you, it might show up as companionship. It might show up as understanding. It might show up as kindness, trying to help. But really, they're getting close so that they can study you and see who you truly are. And oftentimes, you'll notice if they dislike you or they have a secret disgust or jealousy or envy for you, you can see like this little snicker or this ugly face that they may have. It's so interesting to see because it almost feels demonic if you pay attention to the energetic vibration of it, especially when you start healing and tapping into your divine feminine energy. You will absolutely feel this energy and you won't understand where it's coming from, but it will absolutely come from something like this, especially if you're not doing too much, you're just being you, especially if you're dealing with a person that's covert in this behavior. They're not going to say anything to you. They're not going to point it out, but they'll just be this look or this shift in energy. And you have to be very hyper aware or very energetically sensitive to pick up on it because oftentimes they'll do it when you're not looking, when your back is turned. But if you turn around real quick to get a response in a situation where they don't know that you're going to turn around, oftentimes you can catch it. The problem with this is the people that haven't done the work, when they see different expressions on people's face, they don't understand that the person can completely be thinking about something completely different, right? And they project that insecurity or that wound of not being able to trust anyone on people's expressions. So you have to be very careful. You have to know that you're not in some sort of psychosis, spiritual psychosis or religious psychosis or just straight up paranoid. Okay. Be very careful with this because you can also ruin relationships because of this. At the same time, you might need to be the person to get away from somebody as well. You know what I mean? So tread lightly. Okay. And do your healing, baby. Now I tolerated her because I felt like I could handle the situation. I thought I knew how to manage people. That was a part of my shadow. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't aware aware that I was operating in my shadow, because I wasn't aware that everybody can't go with you. As you evolve, as you release, as you rise in your energetic field and ascend, you desperately want the people that you care about to go with you. The divine sees things that you don't see. The divine hears things that you don't hear. The divine is very aware of what's being orchestrated behind you, and the divine knows people's hearts. That's one thing that I will take from Christianity that I've heard a lot, especially when I went to church or I was around a lot of Christians. God knows your heart, because God is a part of your heart. There's a lot of aspects that you may not know or you may not see. You may intuitively know, subconsciously know, but you're not paying attention to it. You don't want to believe it. You start telling yourself lies. You're trying to manage a situation that can't be managed. You're trying to force someone to go along your healing journey or your path, or you feel maybe they have a lot of capability of reaching where you are. In all actuality, they don't. And you can't force people to heal. You can't force people to evolve. You can't force people to be better. You can't force people to feel joy or love. You just can't. And it's so sad. That's one of the things that's going to break your heart the most as you transcend on this path of healing and evolving and enlightenment. So much of your heart is opening up that you just want to help everybody else, but you can't. And I didn't realize that I couldn't manage this relationship. This relationship had to go full force. I had to throw the bathwater and the baby out. And that hurt my heart, because then I didn't realize it, but now I do. I had to minimize my energy to not feel arrogant. Who am I? This big, important person that's healing, that needs to leave you behind. Like, the whole idea of leaving someone behind just kind of felt a little bit arrogant to me as well. It didn't feel humanitarian. But in all actuality, I was just being a people pleaser. I didn't want to be lonely. I didn't want to break these attachments, because it was all attachment style as well. Even though there was love, it was still attachment to a story that I was telling myself over and over again. So I had to let that go. I had to relinquish the meaningful aspect of this relationship, because it was just too destructive to my being and my aura. And it was too much fighting. You don't have to always get along with people, but when people are intentionally trying to be combative with you, that's a different story, you know? And one of the stories I was telling myself is people that act like they're better than you, or people that have this pride. Later, I learned I don't dislike people that know their power. I dislike insecurity dressed up as superiority. There's a sacred middle. You can own your light without performing it. I've already mentioned that she was showing up in a covert way. How are you going to be able to recognize covert envy? Because it rarely announces itself, right? That's what makes it covert. But this is how it shows up. It can show up as overkindness to your partners. I know that some women are going to say, oh, I'm just friendly. That's just the way I am. But it reminds me of a time that I was watching Tabitha Brown and her husband, Chance Brown. And she was talking about how she had a friend that came over, and she was a bubbly personality. In the midst of the games or the event that they were having in their living room, the friend sat on her husband's lap, and her husband was shooketh. He didn't know what to do. Tabs was saying that she had to let her know, you need to get up off my husband. For me, there is no excuse for that. I don't know a world, especially in America, where it's okay to sit on a friend's husband's lap, especially when this is kind of like your first time being around them, for real. I would never sit on my friend's husband's, boyfriend's, crush's lap, all right? It's not insecurity. It's definitely a respect aspect that goes into it, because a lot of people don't like to be touched as well. To put your private parts on somebody else's private parts, and y'all both grown, and this person is taken, and it's supposedly your friend's husband. Tabs is better than me. That's all I can say. Tabs is better than me. She's Aquarius as well, but she's better than me. And she was saying how a lot of these women know that her husband is her husband, and they're in his DMs, and she sees everything, and she had to kind of check them. And I was like, yeah, Tabs, show them. Just because it's love and light don't mean that it's not, I'll check you, right? It will show up as being a little bit too friendly with your partner. And I feel like because people don't know how people operate with partnership, you shouldn't jump right in and being too friendly with anybody's partner. You have to watch them. You have to understand what is comfortable and what's not comfortable. You don't just willy-nilly jump in and start touching and hugging and smiling and trying to be all interested in them, okay? But with this girl, what she would do is she would try to fluff herself up to seem like a better girl or girlfriend than me. So she would probably bring up situations where she would talk about what she would do for her man if da 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 da. Now that's a little overt, unless you're just just super green or super slow. Okay. But for me, it was one of those situations that if a guy is not paying attention, if he feels that he's just in a conversation and he's not attracted to this person, it's not going to set off an alarm. Sometimes with men, it only sets off an alarm if the person is an attractive person, because it's like, oh wait, is this person flirting with me? Then they'll see it. But if they're not attracted to the person, then they won't necessarily recognize it. But I do feel like men need to start being hyper aware of this situation so that they can be the one to shut it down. When women address it, unless it gets violent, it doesn't get taken seriously. Unfortunately, we may have community, but there's a lot of women that don't respect unity, a family unit or a family dynamic or a couple or partnership. It's less women that respect it than men, in my opinion. I feel like men are more respectful of a relationship dynamic, especially if they know of the guy. They're not going to try to sleep with their friend, usually. And if they do, by the whole male community, they're looked at as a sleazeball. Like, they will never be forgiven because that's bro code. But if he got some trash friends, man, they will try to flirt with you. And you got to watch that. Next one is public jokes that reveal private information. I can't tell you how many times this girl has tried to embarrass me, and sometimes embarrass me by saying something that was hyper private, just between me and her, or a circumstance that I went through that was very close to my heart, or bringing up stuff like it was a joke because she thought it was funny in front of a group of people, especially when men are present. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're going to say, oh, she's a pick-Misha. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, we know. This is what kind of makes the pick-Misha, I-center men, idealism in women very dangerous. And I feel like this is why a lot of women are calling it out, because it can be dangerous. These type of women can put you in situations that can be dangerous, especially if there are men that are dangerous that are attracted to these type of women. And oftentimes they won't care what happens to you as long as they get what they want. Do you see what I'm saying? So trying to diminish me or embarrass me by making a joke of a very personal situation. At this point, this girl was not even covert with it. She was being overt, but sometimes people will make a small little joke like, oh, because your lips are shaped weird, or, your head is a little big. And if you come from a family dynamic like me, where we can joke with each other, we're very used to joking, or maybe you make light of a dark situation through joking, it could go over your head. You won't even notice it because you don't think that laughing about stuff that other people are embarrassed about is a big deal. And sometimes they'll bring up stuff that you're actually not embarrassed about, so you won't even notice it, or you'll let it fly under the radar. You won't check it. But with her, I had to check her way too many times. There's another aspect where they will discredit your character to strangers. If they know that you're very passionate about something, they can turn that into, oh, she gets kind of riled up with this, or she gets kind of angry, or Rah, she has an anger issue. That type of rhetoric is slowly but surely chipping at your brand and minimizing who you are as a person, because they're trying to highlight a characteristic that you may have and frame it in a way where it seems suitable. It definitely fits the narrative, right? But that's not who you always are. And you're not always like that with everyone or in every situation. Trying to make it seem like because you're strong or you show up a certain type of way that you're this evil person or you're this unpredictable person. A lot of covert envy shows up that way. Between this chick and me, we weren't the same size, we weren't the same race or anything like that. So when it came to this one, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I do know another person that was definitely in this energy that did this. It's fishing for intel or mirroring your style. I experienced this with another person. I'm trying to think, have I ever experienced this with this girl? I don't know. She would fish for intel when it came to personal things happening in my life, intimate situations that I had with a partner, and then try to make it seem like I was promiscuous. She would do it like this. But when it comes to trying to mirror my style or trying to fish for intel in terms of trying to like mirror me or make it seem like they were interested in something that I had going on, there was an instance where I was with my recent ex and we were on like a double date with him and his friend's wife. They had just got married. When she walked into the room, she saw my romper. I had a really cute little romper on. When she looked at me, me. Remember that sneer that I was talking about? She had that sneer on her face, like that lip thing that people do, that lip and nose action that people do. And she slowly looked at me up and down with like this real nasty energy behind the sneer, but she caught herself and did a smile. And she did this while my ex and his friend were hugging. So you know how everybody greets everybody and they're all hugging and you're kind of busy with that. But when it came time for her to do that with me and they were hugging, that's when she did the sneer and she looked at me up and down and she was like, "Oh, I love your outfit. Where did you get it from?" And I told her, you know, because I'm not a gatekeeper, but I will be honest, I'm sick of this energy. So I probably won't be telling people where I get stuff anymore because I don't have time. I'm tired of takers, and it's a lot of takers out there. And I know the girl community is all for, oh no, we should share information. Y'all can kiss my ass, because a lot of you all are hiding behind a false mask. It's just like how evil people hide behind religion to appear holy and trustworthy. That whole girl rhetoric, if my spirit is not with it, then my spirit is not with it, and I'm not telling anybody anything. I told her where I got it from, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not familiar with that place. I don't know this place." And I was just looking at her and I was like, "Oh, well, you know, if you want to, I can text it to you later." And she was like, "Oh, okay." Now, this is not the first time that she asked me for information. Prior to this, she asked me for a hair braider, and I gave her 3 that I came across, and I let her know like which ones I liked the most or whatever, just for her to tell me that day that she got her hair braided by somebody else and complained about how long it took that girl to do her hair, but the price was cheap or something like that. And I was just looking at her like, what was the point of you asking me if you weren't going to go with someone that I suggested? You don't have to go with anybody I suggest. Usually if I ask somebody for information, if I'm not leaning towards what they're telling me, I'll let them know so they won't be looking at me like I was looking at her at this point in time later on. But she didn't do that. She just went somewhere else. So now she's asking me where I got my stuff from. And when I texted to her later, you know what she did? "Oh, I know that place. That's where I got my bridesmaids' dresses." Hopefully I didn't trigger you with all of that, and probably bringing up moments of you reminiscing about situations where this could have happened, or maybe it's happened recently. Okay. We want to stay balanced. We want to stay balanced in our energy. This is high vibes. We got the incense going, baby. High vibes, high vibes, high vibes. Okay. You can recognize it, but you don't have to get angry with it. Don't let it shift your energy, because their attack style is actually a fingerprint. Once you heal, you can read it instantly and you'll stop bleeding for it. For instance, whenever someone is attacking me, because I've uprooted a lot of my insecurities, I've uprooted a lot of my trauma, I uprooted a lot of the issues that I've had with people that have treated me wrong, and I've been able to bring in the aspects of me that I was embarrassed of, or I wasn't so proud of, or some of the decisions that I made that I probably thought myself was stupid. I was able to integrate who I was when I wasn't at my best and love her as well. So when people try to attack me, or they try to make me feel less than, or make me jealous of some aspect that they have, they can't do that, because I don't have the capacity for jealousy when I don't feel that I'm lacking. And it also shows me where they're jealous, where they're lacking, where they don't have something that they want that I have. Do you see what I'm saying? So you start to read it instantly, and you get really clear about why someone is pointing something out to you, or why they're bringing certain things up, and why it feels like it's a subtle attack, but it doesn't really appear as an attack on the surface. Because if you bring other people into this with you and you're pointing out what they're doing, if you're just saying it and people aren't aware like you, they'll look at you crazy. Like, what are you talking about? That's not what they meant. You know them, you know how they are. But it's because they're not projecting on that person, because they don't have a inferiority complex to that person. That is the reason why that person doesn't peep it, because they feel like, oh, we're genuinely just friends, because they don't trigger that person. But you existing, you with your style, how you do your hair, how you do your makeup, how you show up, how you move your hips, how you're free, that will trigger a lot of people, even though it kind of seems sometimes that this person may have more materially than you, but because you're just that raw, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be triggered by that. So it's really easy to tell when someone is trying to throw hits or land a jab, where that jab is tied to their insecurity, because you'll wonder, why did they even bring that up? Like, what does that have to do with anything? If you just flip it, you'll be able to see, oh, because they don't feel good or full in this area, it'll just start to make sense to you. So please heal, baby, heal. Now remember what I just said. People seem like they have more going on than you. They may have more accolades than you. And you'll often gaslight yourself too and say, why would this person be jealous of me? I remember when somebody told me, why would that person be jealous of you when they have this degree, that degree, and that degree? And it was interesting because they didn't understand the mechanics of a woman's mind. So they don't understand how women can be insecure about a relationship, how they can be insecure about beauty. And no matter how many degrees you get, you can't fill up that void in you that projects that type of jealousy or insecurity. So with this ex-friend, this is like a 15 plus year friendship that I had with this girl. We've gone through life and my life was rougher than her life. She was actually spoiled. She had a lot more going for her because her mom was in the medical field than I had. Here she was constantly attacking me and seemingly no reason. Oftentimes, I just didn't understand why she was like that. I just thought that that's just how she was because I didn't want to think she was jealous. It was some type of program I had in my mind that couldn't fathom somebody living a better life than me, wanting to attack me and make my life worse, even though they see that my life is already worse. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're actually jealous of me and you have an issue with me and you want to step on me even more when life is already stepping on me. Girl, we got to get rid of you. Okay. I couldn't fathom it. And when we got older, she actually got her degree in the medical field as well, even though she switched careers and went in a different path. Seemingly, she was living a slightly better life than me. She was driving a Lexus at that time as well. And I know, me personally, I don't care. I don't. And that's probably why I don't have the envy and the jealousy that a lot of people have, because when you care about things like that, you can feel left behind. I still have some compassion. Here I go being a healer. I still have some compassion for people. You know what I mean? So I don't completely demonize jealousy and envy because I get how that can work up in your spirit. There's something about feeling left behind that will rattle your insides, and it's supposed to rattle you. It's supposed to make you jump up and do something about it for yourself. But a lot of people jump up and they attack somebody about it. And that's where I got to draw the line. That's where it's messed up. Even in this moment, I couldn't understand why she would be jealous. But now that I'm in my spiritual essence, now that I'm diving into my femininity, I'm understanding my power. This is why you have to definitely pay attention to your path and your purpose. As you tap into your purpose, you start to discover your power. You realize how sensitive that energy is. No matter how minute it is, it's powerful and people can feel that power. Because I was in this energy, I was starting to realize that she was kind of jealous of how I could captivate people as well. Be careful when you're choosing partners as well. Men display this too. When you can captivate audience, when people listen to you, when people are drawn to you, when people confide in you, when people trust you, people get jealous of that as well. Who knew? So back then my gifts were loud. One of my gifts was I was able to feel someone's soul screaming even behind their false smiles. So it didn't matter how good a person's false mask was. If you were dying inside, if you were hurt, if you were holding your soul hostage from receiving healing and vulnerability, I was able to pick up on that very strongly. So that one day at her job, her coworker came over. He was full of joy, full of light, smiling. Hey, you guys, what's going on? Came over, started joking. But the grief coming off of him made it so hard for me to breathe. Mind you, I didn't know this man. This is the first time I met him. And I am all about privacy, pulling people to the side. This was so overwhelming. I could not. I said, look, don't lie to me. What's wrong? And he looked around. He was like, what do you mean? Everything is good. He was like, but who are you? You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm so-and-so's friend. You came over joking, high-spirited, but there's something wrong. And he broke. One of the mothers of his children just passed away. And she just so happened to be the one that he had the best relationship with for, I believe, his oldest daughter. And he hadn't said anything to anyone. All of these people have been working with him for years. He's gained this relationship with all of these people. He did not say anything. Nobody noticed. Nobody knew. And someone at the table even said, whoa, bro, is that the reason why you took a couple of days off? And he was like, yeah, you know, her funeral was this day. And he started to open up and he needed witness to that. He needed to be able to speak on that and have a community. But because he was holding it in so tight, he wasn't able to have that community. Do you see what I'm saying? He felt the responsibility of being everybody else's light, and he wasn't able to have that type of community to receive light when he needed it. And there I was able to see it instantly. And that's when I realized why some frenemies cling to your presence, because your presence is medicine. But anyone that both feeds from you and fights you, it's a big no for me. And I remember she was like, wow, how did you know that happened? How could you tell? It's just because I fine-tune my energy, I'm able to pick up on things like that. And she wasn't a stranger to the witchy community, the witchy stuff, tarot, the esoteric. She understood, but I could also tell that she couldn't believe I was that in tune. And when it came to my femininity, I also noticed that was triggering her. Here we are in the height of the pandemic. Everybody's bag stopped. My bag was still coming in. And it was so weird. You know how you watch tarot readings and they're telling you, God is going to bless you with this. You're not going to see this coming and da-da-da. That was my life. Like, I didn't need tarot to tell me. The divine was definitely taking care of me, to the point that I started calling God Sky Daddy. You know, I got to call the divine Sky Daddy. Sky Daddy is going to take care of me. You know what I mean? As long as I do the work, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to get blessed, baby. It's coming through. I'm not worried about nothing. And in my femininity, it was definitely triggering her. It was starting to get a little dicey, a little thorny when it came to femininity and the person I was dating at the time. And when she would open up and tell me about the guy that she was dating, he was treating her really bad. And at the same time, she was creating space for him to have room to treat her like that as well. When you get to a breaking point, at some point you have to wake up. Unfortunately, people don't want to face this. This is how you balance the karmic scales. Remember, in the last discussion that we had, I told you guys how I view karma. Basically, an opportunity of learning. It can be seen as a lesson, but it's definitely an opportunity to learn and receive. Whether the lesson is negative or positive, or you think it's a blessing or a curse, no matter which way you cut it, it's there to help you revisit certain things and reshape your paradigm, to mold you into the best version of self, to move into your purpose, into your higher self, into your divine feminine. When she was telling me certain things, like this guy put her in $20,000 worth of debt. He was very selfish when it came to intimate time. I was concerned, and I was like, girl, you do not have to take that. And she had her issues with her body. Even if you feel like a man will never love you because of how your body is, you still can't accept that type of behavior. So here I am thinking that I'm pouring life into her, and I'm trying to help her uplift herself and find some type of self-love and reason so she can get out the situation. Oftentimes, a lot of women try to loop men in and try to use bait to catch a man. That bait can easily turn into your own trap. The more you invest in someone, the less likely and willing you are to let them go. And a lot of times when you keep these leeches around, they will drain you dry. And I was so passionate about that. This aspect, this is why I'm so glad that she came around as well, because it helped me realize a version of self that needed some reflection also. I needed to look at the fact that she was not able to hear me. She got very snappy, very combative. I had to learn when to help. I had to learn when to teach. I had to learn when to tell the truth and when to be quiet. Even if it was disrupting my soul, even if I'm passionate about this person and I'm trying to help them, I had to learn how to take it easy. And I had to learn how to decipher and have the discernment to know who I can help out and who I can't help out. Even back then, I would ask, like, do you want my real opinion or do you want me to lie? You know what I mean? Do you want me to tell you the truth or do you want me to lie to you and make you feel good and coddle you? And she was like, tell me the truth. And when I told her the truth, it was a lot of combativeness. And she was probably feeling like, I don't understand. It's not about me understanding. It's about putting your foot down no matter what the obstacle is. And I know that because I had to learn to do that in my life. Hello, I'm a Black woman. You think I don't have my own obstacles? Okay. You think there's things that I don't have to overcome and face and deal with on a daily basis? Even as a child, I had to face things that were very hard and heavy for me. Like, baby, if she actually opened up and said that, she would be preaching to the choir, because trust me, I get it. Just because you're skinny and just because you're sexy or men are attracted to you does not mean that you get it better. Sometimes it means that you get it worse. You don't know what people are going through. Do you see what I'm saying? Because of what I've experienced in my life, that is part of the reason why I don't put a lot of value in men. I've seen a lot of ugliness from them, especially when they're attracted to you. I don't feel flattered by getting attention and praise from them. In my life, I've learned more times than not, it's rooted in some type of invisible string of something that they want. It's rarely a situation where it's just given. It took me to get into my femininity and heal in order to receive that type of admiration or flattery without it being tied to something else, without this entitlement. I own you, or I own your body, or I own your essence now. And even now, I still have to navigate that, okay? It's just one of those things where, girl, I'm trying to help you. And that's why I even created this space, because, girl, I'm trying to help you. So if you listen, cool. If you don't, cool. You gonna learn. Me being in my soft era and my feminine energy was also triggering her as well. And it was becoming blatantly obvious that I was gonna have to move on, and I was gonna have to leave this friend behind. I wasn't able to take her with me. She wasn't gonna be able to tap into where I was. I was starting to see increasingly how far away she was from me energetically. And this is one of the nudges that the divine was giving me to show me that I was gonna have to cut this relationship short for good. And when I tell you my heart broke, I wasn't able to bring myself to that. Even though she treated me so bad over the years, of course there's good moments. Of course she showed up, and that's part of the reason why she was so close to me, because the divine used her to help save my life at one point in time when I first met her. When I was younger, I treated her like she was bigger than the program, and I had to realize through my journey, she was never bigger than the program. The divine did that. The divine is orchestrating this thing where people come into your life and they save your life and they show up for you. We praise them. We give them so much admiration. While you should respect humanity, there's another aspect where people are not bigger than the program. And I made her bigger than the program. So that is another reason why the attachment was so strong. But the divine was letting me know, you got to let her go. I wasn't ready. I have to tell the divine, like, look, I need you. I need you to step in. So I asked, and then I followed. I told the divine, I know this must end, but I don't have the strength. Please start it, and I will absolutely follow you. I remember the promise that I made you. I remember I told you once I started this journey that I was going to follow you no matter how crazy the path looked. Even if it looked like I was going to die and really it was just the ego death, I was going to follow, and I wasn't going to question. And I'm not questioning, and I'm not defying, but I can't do this. I need your help. I need you to start this process, and I will absolutely close the door and lock it. I don't think I'm strong enough. And soon after that, there was a text message exchange that spiraled. Classic Key and Peele miscommunication over text skit. And after that, she blocked me on Facebook. I didn't even know that there was an issue, to the point that I went back to the text messages to reread and try to figure out what happened, because that was the last communication I had from her. And when I reread it, I could not figure out what was wrong. And I was like, maybe she thought I was angry, so let me read it in an angry way. When I read it in an angry way, I was like, oh, it could be taken like that, but why would I be angry? You know what I mean? Why would I be angry about hanging out? I'm not angry about that. I'm just protecting my peace. I want to spend time with my son. I want to spend time alone. I don't want any company. And I definitely don't want anybody telling me my price to a service that I provide. Do you see what I'm saying? So texting me, asking me to do her hair, I can decline that. It doesn't mean that there is beef. When I realized that I was blocked, instantly the unhealed version of me wanted to reach back out to her and clear things up. But the instant that I thought about that, I remember the conversation that I had with the divine when I said, you start the process and I'll finish. I'll close the door. Me putting the phone down and just leaving it as is, that was me closing that door and following the divine's footsteps. And let me tell you something. I love the divine so much. There is so much that God, the divine, whatever you call that energy, will do for you. This was the first time I felt I got a break. My whole life, I felt that I've always had to take the hard path, and I had to do the hard thing, and I never caught a break, and I had to do it right, and I could never cut corners like everybody else. I'm standing at the window looking outside, watching everybody fuck up and not get any type of karma. And the second I think about it, I get my hand smacked. Tell me you're a Saturn ruled person without telling me you're a Saturn ruled person. For me to say, I'm not strong enough, it showed me that I wasn't lying. God knows your heart. I wasn't lying. I was telling the truth. I wasn't strong enough, and I really wanted to do it. And there was just so much emotion and attachment ties all up and through this, and so many memories. Over 15 years, some people can't even stay in a relationship for over 15 years. So imagine a friendship from childhood and you have to end it, and you're just trying to make it right. You're trying to do everything in your power to live in existence with this person. And that's when you start to realize the energetic difference between you and other people and why you have to leave them. You can't hold on to them. You're going to fall with them, and it's going to be incredibly uncomfortable for you. It's going to be devastating for you because you're more aware of that state than they are. That state is all that they know, but you know something else. So when it's time to elevate, it's time to elevate. Stop playing with it. So when the divine was sending me those messages and I leaned into it and the divine showed me that it will absolutely show up and show out for your girl, I was like, oh my gosh, I can trust this energy so much more now, because I never thought it would be me. I never thought that I would be able to get that assistance and that help from the Most High. To show me that only solidified more energy and more growth and more strength in my connection with the divine. Before that, you couldn't tell me nothing about the divine, but after that, baby, you really couldn't tell me nothing out of the divine. Like, I am following tooth and nail. Anybody against me and against my decision when I'm saying the divine is telling me something, baby, you're against me. Goodbye. I won't try to save you. You trying to lead me somewhere else. That's not my path. That within itself was such a memorable moment. And this is the reason why I always say, look, people are going to do effed up stuff to you. That's true. And when you go through the journey of healing and these people are a part of your healing process, it's not always F you. Sometimes it's F you, but it's not always F you, because had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have never had that blessing of feeling that close to the divine. Do you see what I'm saying? So I was able to experience something because of her coming back into my life. And that's just the monopoly of how God is moving the puzzle pieces around to help you realize self. That's the beautiful aspect of all of this healing and really tapping into your divine feminine. The old me would chase closure, but the healed me remembered my prayer. Sometimes God honors your boundaries by moving the chess pieces for you, and thank God for that. So whenever you're praying for God to lift the weight and you lose the job and you lose the man and you lose the dog and you lose the house, hey, there was something already telling you long before that, this is a move that you need to make. Whenever people have those catastrophic testimonies, the way I see it, sometimes I'm like, that's beautiful and all. I know for a fact God was already pointing something out to you, telling you, like, nudging you, hey, you need to go in this direction, and you were being hard-headed. It's time to wake up, because it doesn't always have to end in abrupt tower moment. Oftentimes we push it on too far, and that's what happens. That 15-year friendship breakup cut deeper than most of my romances, because I never betrayed her, but she repeatedly betrayed me. The smear attempts, the competition, the constant reaching for my orbits to access my options or my leftovers. It took time to accept, but compassion without boundaries is absolutely self-harm. And let's look at this from a healed paradigm, because it's so easy in our shadow to say, F her, you did right, girl. F her, she's trash. She's a trash friend. That's us in our shadow, right? That's us reacting. If we look at this in our divine feminine, she was one of the big catalysts, besides the catalyst that I had with my mom, which can be a whole nother story time, okay? But she was one of the big catalysts to prepare me for my future, to help me walk away from the things that I love. Even though I've loved or attached to men, and it's felt like strong love, this big, exciting, loud love, I can honestly say I've loved my friends harder and deeper than I've ever loved any other man. Yeah, I think that's true. I think I held a lot more trust and dedication and openness to my female friends more than I did for any guy that I was romantically involved with. And knowing the breakup that I just went through, and I know I always bring it up, but it's like the most recent big event in my life. Sorry guys. You know, just being able to connect how open and how deeply I loved that partner, and how it felt like this soul calling, and to still walk away and let it go, to preserve my self-love, to preserve my self-integrity and my nurture, and just really showing up for me. You know what I mean? I can look back in my past at a lot of people that I've experienced, and because I've overcame a lot of that heartache, overcame a lot of that betrayal, I was able to overcome this heartache and this betrayal. Even though it hurt the shit out of me, it really hurt, but I had done it before. I had practiced before, and that is what healing really looks like. A lot of times we don't give credit to that because we're so focused on people getting their karma and hating the person, and just really mourning the purity that we had with these people, and mourning how much hurt we put up with being around these people and allowing these people into our orbit, and just giving ourselves it almost uncontrollably, right? But I am so blessed to have the mindset that I have. I'm so blessed to have the insight that I have, to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to push through this. I'm going to transcend this. I'm going to overcome this obstacle, and I'm going to do my best in my best ability to do it in love and not in hate, even though sometimes fuck y'all. And I mean that. At the same time, even when I said it, it sounded cute, right? I didn't feel any anger. I didn't feel any heat in my chest when I said that. It's like, fuck that behavior. I can move on knowing that these people actually helped me. They were part of a moving piece. They were part of the challenge that I had to overcome. There was a 3-part piece. There was them, the obstacle, the divine telling me that I can do it, and me doing the work to actually overcome the obstacle. Do you see what I'm saying? So had I not gone through any of this stuff, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. I wouldn't be able to sit here and share this knowledge and this wealth with you. I wouldn't be able to connect to you. I wouldn't be able to know what betrayal feels like and to speak to that in your spirit because I had never gone through it. But because I've gone through so much, I can speak to so much. And because I've worked through so much and I've healed so much, and baby, I still have a lot of healing to do. Okay. I still have a lot of healing to do. At the same time, I'm willing to overcome. I'm willing to tread forward. I'm willing to push through and not hide my face and hide in fear, hide behind the false mask. The more that I evolve, the more that I make mistakes, the more I get to know who I am and the more I get to love who I am because I know her so intimately. Even though this girl did all of that stuff, even though I still have to check her recently, like she still tried to come for me recently, not too long ago, maybe like a year or two ago, maybe like a year ago, actually. I had to give it to her. Even in that, it wasn't in hate. It was in setting boundaries. It was in, yeah, I'm not the person that you thought I was. I'm not the person that you used to know. I'm going to speak up. Not saying anything was also holding me back as well. I had to learn how to speak up and speak in love and not speak in hate, but speak that truth. I had to learn how to speak that truth. And that's the one, owning your light. As my femininity softened and strengthened, the triggers around me got louder. And I stopped negotiating with people who wanted my essence, but not my well-being. So these are some of the lessons that I learned. Fan versus friend. Friends reciprocate, fans extract. A fan is always trying to take from you. And the thing is, don't ever confuse the two because a fan can act like they're giving you something. It's just them overperforming. It's just them people pleasing. They're not giving from their heart and their essence. They demand that you show up and you produce something for them. They want to come and abstract from you. They know they come in and they leave it with something. All right. But a friend is going to hold vulnerable space with you. Even if you're not saying anything, you can hold vulnerable space in silence. A friend is going to be there and be your warmth. Do you see what I'm saying? It's going to be a situation where you just understand their safety here. Even if your paths come to a close and you have to go separate directions, you can honor that in maturity, and it's no hate, no malice. The next one is offerings don't equal ownership. Money, favors, gifts, none of that buys access if your spirit is unsafe. This is mirroring romantic relationships as well. It's not just men that weaponize gifts and weaponize money and access. It's your friends too. You have to start opening your eyes to all of your relationships and what you allow in all of your relationships. And no more guilt. Their abandonment wound is not my responsibility and it's not my assignment. Baby, you would have thought I was Superwoman or Superman the way I run to somebody's aid to help them. I'm chilling. I'm taking the back seat on that. And I'm only going to show up and show out and step to the cause if the divine is guiding me to do so. But I'm not going to do it just willy-nilly and give it out for free, just willy-nilly, because everybody does not see the value in it. And that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to see the value in it because everybody is not on the same path as you. So, trying to help everybody, it can come off very annoying. It's giving very much, you don't know how to read the room. And even though my boundaries may activate this wound of abandonment that they may have, or any wound that they may have, it's still not mine to fix. I'm not going to apologize because my presence is triggering you, especially when I'm hyper aware and I understand that I am not doing anything to make somebody feel a certain type of way. I hope I motivated you and inspired you to really take a deep look at who you are and how you show up, and remind you that sometimes after videos like this, people want to get up and start cutting everybody off. I want to highlight that if you didn't get the nudge before this video, pause. Don't jump to a fake finish line because you fear of doing the inner work, because you'll find out real quick that finish line that you just jumped to magically turned into a start line, and you'll restart the same level. Learn your temperature, what your body does when a mask walks in, so you can learn how to calibrate in real time. So don't start cutting all your family members off and your boyfriend off and your girl and your dog, and calm down, relax. You want to take time to actually learn the lesson and what the divine is bringing to you, okay? Because even with this young lady, it took time for me to learn the lessons that I've shared with you just now. It took time for me to lead up to that. And it's not necessarily time, it's a series of events, right? But it took them in order for me to truly learn this lesson and not invite more of this energy into my life. And if I peep it and I see it, I know how to shift. Even if I don't have the right words, sometimes I'm not the best with my words. Sometimes I'm very direct, but at least I know how to spot it and I understand exactly what's going on and I know how to shift. And all of that happened because I didn't rush through the cycle. Revisiting confessing their comeback style. When people are attacking you and they punch, they are confessing something to you. And that is where a lot of people don't realize the false mask drops. Oh my gosh, I have to share something with you guys. It just came to me. I used to watch like karate movies when I was younger, and I would be astounded. Like, I would be in awe when sensei would say something profound, so simple, but profound. It would just open up this world or this door for me that made me think deeper in different things. But every culture has something where they can identify you. So in a lot of fighting techniques, they can tell what type of technique you're using based on your movements. And there was a show that I loved. It was called Marco Polo on Netflix. Oh my gosh, you guys should watch it. It's such a good series. They were able to tell their fighting style and kind of predict their fighting style based on how they fought you, right? It told them a lot about you, and it told them a lot about your character as well, if they knew how you fought. And this is how it is emotionally as well. So when people are jabbing you, when you're unhealed, when you're still in your shadow energy and you haven't developed into your divine feminine yet, you'll take offense to it. You'll get fired up. You won't be able to control your emotions and your reactions. Your reaction time is so quick, but you didn't take time to translate what's being said. But the more you heal, you won't need to intentionally take the time to translate what's happening. You will instantaneously be able to translate what's going on. You will instantaneously be able to translate somebody's intentions. So at that point, when they're doing certain things, you'll know exactly what's going on, especially if you've already experienced this in your reality. Now, if this is a behavior or characteristic that you haven't experienced yet, you'll still be able to see the narrative and the nuance of the negativity or the positivity aspect or ratio of their intention, but you may not be able to decipher exactly what's happening yet until you get to the end of what's going on, right? Common sense. But sometimes you'll still know, like, oh, this person is untrustworthy. Let me shift. Let me redirect. Let me reposition, right? So in their attacks, they show you how to defeat them. But your higher self doesn't need revenge. Your divine feminine doesn't need revenge. Divine feminine and revenge in the same sentence doesn't even sound right? Because your higher self and your divine feminine just chooses removal. You don't even have time. And it's not that you don't have time because you're facing them and you're looking at them saying, oh my gosh, you're so petty. You don't have time because you're so busy on your purpose. You don't have time because you're abundant. You don't have time because you're doing the work. You don't have time because you're in your healing season. That's why you don't have time. You don't have time because you're actually manifesting. You're working. You're moving in purpose. So you're preoccupied. I wanted to say busy, but you're not busy. You're preoccupied. This is not busy work. You're in depth. You're transmuting energies. You're deep in your soul essence. Do you see what I'm saying? You're not going to want to stop what you're doing to face that or stay and try to manage that and try to make that work in your schedule. It's just not going to work. You just know, hey, let me focus on this because this is more important than that. That's not meant to travel this path in this destiny that I'm headed in. That's why it has to be left. So a lot of times we think things are falling off because they're heavy, and they could be heavy in your life, but they're also falling off because they're not meant to experience your bless up. If somebody is treating you like crap and you're destined to bless up, you're doing yourself a disservice by dragging them along so that they can experience your bless up with you, and the whole time they've been trying to destroy you. Leave them where they're at. This is what it looks like when you're really mature and you choose the high road, baby. This is what this means. So every time you want to go to hell, you keep moving away from your destiny. You keep moving away from your purpose. And it doesn't mean that you'll never reach it. It just means that now you got to take a longer detour. Let's get effing for real. Let's get serious. Because once you clear your self-image, any jab they throw will land on air. You clocked the pattern, kept your peace, and now you're moving on. Get to stepping, baby. Get to stepping. Okay? Now, these are some of the things that I have to own in my relationship and showing up in these relationships with these people, and even having to grow out of these situations, because we often think about all of the bad that people do and we bring up our reactions like, yeah, I reacted like this. It was because of them. You know, we have to also look at some of the aspects that may not lead to violence, may not lead to verbal abuse. Some of the aspects of you where you think that you're just giving somebody a chance, but really you're giving them a chance to F you over. And it's kind of a betrayal to your inner self or your inner child. And sometimes this is the reason why you don't trust yourself and you don't trust your own decisions, and why you lean on other people's opinions, and you feel sensitive about people pouring their ideals and what they believe on your life. People are just trying to help you. They just don't know your path. Only you know your path, even if you don't know your path, right? So I've done the karmic things, trying to make it work with projections, staying for potential, performing detachment while still allowing them to orbit me. Growth was me admitting to myself that part of me still liked that push and pull in that game. And maybe I didn't like it. Maybe it was just familiar to me. Maybe it was just natural. Maybe I felt that that was the way of life and it was something that I had to put up with. Maybe it was tied to some type of past trauma that I experienced in my family life and family dynamic that I had to learn to grow through. And I had to retire that. In retiring that, in healing, in growth, we always say that it's not easy. Nobody ever explains why it's not easy to heal. It's definitely difficult to look at yourself and see the roles that you play in a lot of these aspects that hurt you so bad. And especially when you start to realize that you opened the door. You didn't just leave the door open. You opened the door and invited this energy in a lot of instances because of the lack of self-love, because of the voids that you have, because you want to feel warmth and attachment, because you want to feel love, because you're missing something that your parents probably never gave you that you really desperately needed and you didn't even know how to ask for it. The thing about life, healing, maturing, growing, developing into your essence, whether it's divine feminine or divine masculine, we have to realize that this is not school with tidy periods. You don't get a break from each period. You don't get to compartmentalize how life is unfolding for you. It's biology, it's calculus, it's grief, romance, money, and prayer all at once. It's diabolical, honestly. Life doesn't stop. Life does not stop. You'll be getting blessed and gutted at the same time, all at once. But you have to learn how to keep living as you heal. Stand up, tell the truth, and move. Whether it's holy, messy, it doesn't matter. You got to stay in motion. Don't beat yourself up. You just have to learn how to stand up and build endurance and discernment. If this touched you, that was intentional and on purpose. I created some journal prompts for you, and feel free. You can share them one line in the comments so another woman knows she's not alone. So we're just going to run through them really quick. Where did I confuse fan energy for friendship? What signals does my body give me when a mask walks in? What boundaries do I want God to start for me that I promise to follow? What part of me enjoys the old game and is ready to retire it? If compromise didn't mean self-betrayal, what would I stop doing this week? I love you guys so much. Thank you for sharing your energy with me. Thank you for being vulnerable with me. I read the comments. I'll be trying to get back to you guys as soon as I can. I hope you enjoy your week. Girl, we standing up, but we are also celebrating that we are overcoming these obstacles. We're healing. We're leading with our divine feminine. We're working through these karmic cycles, right? And safe to say that's my time. Definitely hype this video if you can. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me get some motion and movement around these parts. Like, comment, share, do what you can to help your girl out. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Peace, love, and a little bit of spice. Mwah.